things underway. 40-minute race again. Remember, the pit window opens after 10 minutes, remains open for 15, closes for the final 15. Lights go out, and it's a slow start from John Hammersley. It's a fantastic start from Adam Chamberlain at the wheel of the Vauxhall Astra VXR, but eventually Phil Briggs gets the Seat firing on all 4 cylinders and is just able to hang on to the lead of the race as they head round through turn 1 for the first time. It is Phil Briggs that leads. It is Adam Chamberlain who was in second place, but sneaking up the inside goes Stephen Berry and just manages to squeeze the Mini up the inside. Brave stuff from him, and he has now taken up second place as all the rest of the field work their way over that cement dust and round through Church for the first time. It's Phil Briggs that leads the way. Remember, he's got an extra 30 seconds to spend in the pit lane, but Stephen Perry, what a great start. What a brave move from him as they went up towards the banking for the first time.
Absolutely, he had a really good run out of Church as well, and he's looking to get side by side coming up towards turn 7. They've gone out of my sight, so I can't quite see if he's actually claimed the position, but slightly further back. Oh, that's trouble for one of the Minis. Oh no, that's then collected the Fiat, that's then pushed it into Dave Cox's Golf. He was involved in a couple of incidents yesterday in the 150 car, but he has managed to survive that one as the field now start to work their way down through the corkscrew. We're seeing those little bars. I'm still stunned that they did so well. You think David Marston started 8th this time around, but then you had one of them starting on the 3rd row, I think it was, as the field now come past us in the commentary position. Oh, and we've got one in the pits already. Kevin Fulbrook. He had trouble yesterday. He's tried to start the car, but alas.
Makes me wonder, was it the contact up there? Because was it Kevin Fulbrook that got into the side of Andrew Marsden, who then got into the side of David Cox, and maybe all 3 of them coming together? Maybe he was the one that picked up a puncture or some damage. Race continues in the meantime with Phil Briggs pulling away already at the end of just the first lap. He'd picked up a 1-second advantage over Stephen Berry's Mini that is there in second place, but just ran a little bit wide coming out of Church, and I think he might lose out here. The Volkswagen Scirocco of John Hammersley, almost contact there as they went through the little kink. They're now heading uphill and towards the braking area for Rocket in. Stephen Berry having stuck his elbows out a little bit and squeezing John Hammersley means that Hammersley still sits there in 3rd place. Adam Chamberlain in the Vauxhall Astra is side by side with Andy Bailey for 4th place. And is Andy Bailey going to sneak through and ahead? I think he might do here. They've also got Simon Smale at the wheel of the white Ford Fiesta as well, who's just lost a couple of places there. Through's gone the Vauxhall, Through's gone the Fiesta, and now right behind him is another one of the Sussex Road and Race prepared cars. It's the number 27 car of Sean Woodard. So great little fight going on for what, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th places as the race leaders about to come over the start finish line and complete lap number 2.
Yeah, Phil Briggs has really got the horses galloping on the Seat Leon now. He's got several seconds to himself up front. Well, specifically, he's got just under 3 seconds to himself. But I really love I mentioned yesterday how much I love the colour schemes of this car. And I particularly love the club chairman, the number 1, John Hammersley's. That was his racing colours from yesteryear, was it not? That they used to run.
Yeah, his original racing colours that John Hammersley has put on the Scirocco for this season. Usually shares the car with Nigel Tong, but Nigel Tong is not very well at all at the moment. Got very poorly back as Nigel, so John is racing solo this weekend, and he's doing a really good job because he's just knocked through into second position. So through goes John Hammersley, the light blue Scirocco, gaining the place over the Mini in the hands of Stephen Berry, who braked as late as he can, heading up towards Rocket. So it's Volkswagen in second, Mini in 3rd, Vauxhall in 4th, Ford Fiesta in 5th place. Just behind them is also Sean Woodard, who is looking to unlock the door and squeeze his way through ahead of Simon Smale's all-white Ford Fiesta. Through goes that Mini as well, the liquid moly-backed car. So wherever you're looking, there are squabbles and places changing as well.
Absolutely, is what we love to see. And there again, you've got Adam Chamberlain, who's sharing that car with Scott Carruthers. We've seen him a few times in a few different cars in this series. This is allowing Phil Briggs just to dance off into the sunset now, onto the start-finish straight. Now the Astra's going to have a go at the Mini. Has Stephen Berry kind of peaked a little early in the Mini? We think he's now going to be down to 4th, having started in 3rd place. He's certainly got the legs in the twisty bits, but with no immediate threat of rain, it looks like the bigger engine cars are reigning supreme here at Anglesey.
Yeah, Andy Bailey looking to try and gain a place as well. He had a better run coming out of the banking, and I'm afraid that's another place lost for Stephen Berry at the wheel of the number 666 Mini. So through goes Andy Bailey at the wheel of the Ford Fiesta. Races a raft of different things over the years as Andy Bailey, and now for Stephen Berry, he might lose a further place here because Sean Woodard at the wheel of his R56 Mini, the Sussex Road and Race prepared car, the liquid moly liveried machine, is looking to try and gain advantage as well. So dropping down through the order, Stephen Berry, it was not that many laps ago, he was in second position. Well, he's clinging onto a place inside the top 6 now.
So far, so good for the top. Well, it's really 6 or 7, isn't it, involved in that gap? And Phil Briggs isn't interested in being part of it. He's just continuing along his merry way, but he's trying to build up as much of a gap as he can to mitigate his winner's penalty from yesterday. So those that might wonder why the winners get penalised, it's just to keep the field a bit more balanced. You don't want one person running off with all the silverware. Well, that person would want to run off with all the silverware, but to keep the racing nice and balanced, if you give the winner's penalty to obviously the winner, they then have to serve a penalty to just keep them from winning every single race and give somebody else an opportunity to stand on the top step.
Yeah, it varies from series to series to series the way the penalties work. For something like Magnificent Sevens, then the next race you get a 5-place grid drop if you win. Other series, for the next race it's either 20 seconds or 15 seconds or 10 seconds, but for this one it's 30 seconds and you carry it for the rest of the season. It's only a series, there are no championship points, and it saves people doing too many things to their cars to develop them to keep winning, because it sounds strange, but the more you win, the less likely you are to win, because you just keep, every time you win a race you pick up a 30-second penalty. You win a second one, it becomes a 60-second penalty. You win again, it's a 90-second penalty, and it just becomes harder and harder and harder to win. And it sort of works. It's a format they've had since the very early and formative days of the Classic Sports Car Club. David Cox at the wheel of the Volkswagen Golf is clinging onto a place inside the top 10 at the moment. He's under enormous pressure from David Marsden, who finished in 8th place in yesterday's race. The little number 3 Fiat Abarth is right in his wheel tracks. These little Abarths, I assume, hark back to the very brief one-make series that we had in the UK for them. It only really lasted a season and a bit before it all sort of fell apart, really, the one-make series of the Fiat Abarths. And you can see they are still nose to tail. Volkswagen Golf from Fiat coming over the start-finish line now as they're about to complete another lap and turn their way up towards turn 1 in what are ever-clearing skies here, aren't they? It was cloudy this morning. Beautiful sunshine now.
It is, and there's still a few clouds around. Depending on which weather report you read would dictate how much rain we were actually going to have, but there is no sign of it. And so we get to enjoy the beautiful Welsh countryside illuminated with beautiful sunshine. Yeah, this is another thing I love about the Classic Sports Car Club in particular. You wouldn't necessarily say assume a Fiat Abarth would have a great toe-to-toe battle with the turbocharged Golf, but here we are, we're seeing it lap after lap after lap. Again, it's just the eclectic mixture of what we see here in the CSCC, different makes challenging different engine sizes and what have you.
We ought to just say, leading the Ford Puma Cup element of the race is car number 100 at the moment, James Clare. He's got quite a sizable lead, but I was also going to pick up exactly what we can see now heading up towards Church. The lead for what was the RX-8s, absolutely wheel to wheel. Stuart Eardley and Jack Hordley were absolutely with each other for the lead of the RX-8 section of the race, the RX-8 trophy. So again, squabbles no matter where you look. You can see the RX-8s now just heading up towards Rocket, the number 22 car, Stuart Eardley, who had to give second best to Jack Hordley yesterday. Well, tables are turned here, the two of them. It's the only two cars we got in the RX-8 trophy this weekend, but they are totally together. And again, you're talking about Pumas being a cheap way of going racing. RX-8 trophy certainly is as well. The donor car, not a great deal. You can do almost nothing to it as well. You can't even strip the interior out, really. So few you can do, but very cheap way of going racing. And again, because all the cars are built to the same spec, it comes down to driverability and prep.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've seen, as was proven yesterday with the Pumas, and we're seeing again with the Mazdas, the racing may be a little bit slower, doesn't make it any less intense and enjoyable, as again another lap completed with the Mazdas absolutely glued to one another. The Pumas really are not far behind either, now being led by the next pack of Pumas, I should say, with James Clare running off into the distance as far as the Pumas are concerned. But then you got the 152 that is being chased by the 101, and not far behind them are the rest of the Pumas. So again, you've got a lovely collection of cars being gathered there. Phil Briggs actually isn't far behind them either. I've just spotted him coming over the line.
Yeah, he'll get into the traffic before too much long. Yeah, so James Clare leading the Pumas. Second in the Puma is John Glover, who I know his mum is watching this as well. She's busy dog sitting at home at the moment. So yeah, John Glover, who won the Pumas yesterday. So Phil Briggs is leading the way. He's just set a new fastest lap of the race as well as Phil Briggs. He might be leading by 4.4 seconds as good as, but a 1 minute 18.484 is literally a few thousandths of a second slower than yesterday's fastest lap of the race, which was posted by Adam Chamberlain and Scott Carruthers Vauxhall Astra. So we are pretty much bang on the pace that we were yesterday, largely because I'd imagine the ambient temperature is coming up a bit now. But what we did hear from many drivers yesterday as the pit window now opens is that as the track got hotter, it just became slicker and slicker and slicker, and it was difficult to try and get the tyre pressures right and try and keep the grip there as well. So we'll have to wait and see as to whether, when cars come into the pits during this pit window, whether we might see a few adjustments to tyre pressures on those particular cars. So the Puma's still busy squabbling away. Number 187 is Mark Kirby, who we've seen racing Porsches in the past. He is hot on the heels of Neil Jackson's white Puma. Jacko on the registration plate. We've got 3 members of the Jackson family racing with us. We've got Neil Jackson, who's sharing with his son Frank Jackson, and Neil Jackson has also got his brother out, Mark, as well, in the light green Ford Puma, i.e. Frank's uncle. So 3 members of the Jackson family. Still the RX-8 busy squabbling away as well, which is going to be Stuart Eardley fighting away with Jack Hordley, whilst Thrill Briggs is now 4.4 seconds to the good. And we've still got that fight also going on between David Cox's Volkswagen Golf and the number 3 David Marson driven Abarth that sits behind. Now through the banking, 8th place is Stephen Berry, who really has lost contact with those that he was up there with. The number 666 Mini started 3rd, is now down into 8th place and is under attack from the very patriotically liveried Abarth with the Italian tricolore emblazoned on the bonnet of it and down the sides. That is Andrew Marsden's number 59 car. They are just starting to stretch their legs a little bit round the straight, the curve that brings them up towards Rocket in and then on towards Rocket out. Through the twiddly parts, it seems as though the Abarth has the upper hand over the Mini. For Stephen Berry, the blue and day-glow yellow Mini has the advantage in a straight line, a bit more power coming out of his R53, the supercharged car. The R53s were the supercharged cars, the R56s were the turbocharged cars. And is he going to this time sneak through at turn number 1? Brave, there's a bit of a gap up the inside, or not turn number 1, sorry, down through the corkscrew. Yeah, so through he goes. Car number 59, Andrew Marson, gaining position there over Stephen Berry. So Stephen Berry, who started 3rd, I'm afraid to say, is now down to 9th position. So it's been a race which has seen him fall away. We've had our first pit stopper in. In has come number 3, David Marson. In has come Mark Kirby as well at the wheel of his Ford Puma. In has come Phil Briggs, the race leader, as well on this lap. So that should now give the lead of the race to the Volkswagen Scirocco of club chairman John Hammersley. The number 1 car, the light blue Scirocco, should have picked up the lead of the race at this stage. Remember, we've got everybody that's got to cycle through this pit stop. Phil Briggs in the pit lane, the race leader, remember, has to remain stationary for an extra 30 seconds. The car that's just picked up the lead of the race, John Hammersley, because of his win at Thruxton, will also have to remain stationary for an extra 30 seconds. So when we cycle through the pit stops, it should play out quite nicely for the Vauxhall Astra VXR of Adam Chamberlain and Scott Carruthers. But we can go downstairs to Chris Buxton, who's managed to catch up with somebody in the pits.
Well, we get to enjoy drivers that are doing well, but sadly for Kevin Fulbrook, pilot of the 26 Mini, it's not really been a weekend for you so far, has it?
No, we came here with high hopes. Yesterday I qualified well. Then I was in 10th. I managed to get my way through. I messed up my pit stop a little bit. I got a 10-second penalty, went out, and then the hub nuts come loose. So I had to pull in and then have them retightened. So that obviously put us back for today. I knew today I could be up there at the front row, even though I started in 14th. I got a cracking start all the way up to the top of the hill there, and then I got taken out at the top of the hill. So it's racing, isn't it? But it's not fair.
But even still, with a smile on your face, it's the amount of time that goes into these. As yours is a Sussex Road and Race car, which is, of course, is yours anyway. I mean, you're keeping a smile, you're keeping an optimistic outlook, which is good. But what's next for you on the calendar?
We're at the GP circuit next weekend, so I've got to get this back, go and get it repaired, and we're back out at the GP.
Excellent stuff. Well, keep smiling. It's always a pleasure to see you. That's Kevin Fulbrook. His son Josh isn't with us this weekend, but plenty of racing still to enjoy. Back up to you, Mark, in the commentary box.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so racing still continuing. 25 minutes to go whilst Kevin is out of the race. One of his cars, Sean Woodard, in the second and sole remaining Sussex Road and Race liveried car in its familiar sort of black and blue livery, is still out there and is now up into the podium places, because we saw Andy Bailey's Ford Fiesta come into the pit lane that time through. So the number 27 car now up into the podium spots, running in third place overall. So John Hammersley leads. It's the Vauxhall Astra of Adam Chamberlain there in second place, and he's only 1.1 seconds adrift of the race leader, so isn't really getting away. They're just heading up towards Rocket at the moment. Rocket in and Rocket out, the squabble for the lead of the race. And I think we've managed to grab another driver down there in the pit lane. So Chris Buxton has... All right, Mini's got a puncture. Right, car number 66. Now that is puncture on the Mini. So 666, I think, will be coming into the pit lane. I wonder if that's why Stephen Berry has lost so many positions, because you saw the driver wind the window down. You can see that the tyre doesn't look quite as inflated as it ought to be. So are we going to see him dive in towards the pit lane? For the lead of the race, though, pretty much nose to tail. They're about to come out of the final corner any second now. So John Hammersley is starting to come under pressure from Adam Chamberlain, who is not going away. Around through turn one they will go, and yeah, there is the relative gap first to second. So John Hammersley, remember, needs to pit. Adam Chamberlain needs to pit, but that Scirocco will have to remain stationary for an extra 30 seconds because it claimed an overall win at Thruxton when John Hammersley was sharing a car with Nigel Tong on that occasion. So it all looks good for the Astra at the moment, which retired from yesterday's race. Well, didn't retire, sorry, it had a couple of pit stops, I ought to say, in yesterday's race. One of them was for a vibration towards the tail end of it, but all seems to be going well now for the Astra VXR. Is it going to be able to pick up the win, though? We've still got most of the field need to pit, really. We've had, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, probably about 13 cars in out of the 25 that started. So, yeah, probably 50% of them still to head into the pit lane at some point, not least of which this leading pair that are just heading through Rocket out now. Volkswagen from Vauxhall Astra, from Mini from Ford Fiesta, from Abarth, from Volkswagen Golf being the top 6, albeit the 6th place car of David Cox has just headed in towards the pit lane. Are we going to see either of the leading pair come in at the end of this lap? Well, I think they've both almost had it coming together. I think they've had it coming together. There's damage to the front end of the Vauxhall Astra, which now didn't get involved in an incident with John Hammersley, who also have seemed to come very slowly down through the corkscrew area. The Vauxhall Astra has got a raft of damage to the front end of it, so it was all going well for Adam Chamberlain, who didn't need to push too hard, but clearly something has happened to between the pair. As into the pit lane comes Sean Woodard. He was in second place. That's another car that's prepared by Sussex Road and Race, Kevin Fulbrook's team, who we've heard from down there in the pit lane. But exactly what happened between John Hammersley and Adam Chamberlain, not entirely sure. The Volkswagen Scirocco seems fine. It did seem to come very slowly through the corkscrew, but there's no obvious signs of damage, so quite exactly what the Vauxhall Astra made contact with to cause the amount of damage to the front end of his car, I'm not entirely sure. And that Mini, yeah, definitely has a puncture, doesn't it? The right rear is way down on the number 666 Mini, but it is not as yet pitting. So Stephen Berry still in 6th place, despite the fact that the tyre has got a slow puncture. Now, you'd have thought the pit window is open, come in, get the tyre changed, get back out to try and minimise what you can do, because you can hopefully change that tyre within your pit stop. You know, you jump out of the car, let the mechanics deal with the tyre, jump back in, you can do your own seat belts up with a little bit of assistance, but for the moment, Stephen Berry continuing round. I suspect he's not quite aware that that's the problem with it. If he leans heavily on that right rear tyre, which you don't tend to do that much around here at this circuit, but if he were to, you'd certainly know about it. Into the pit lane has come number 1, so John Hammersley is in. In comes scraping down the pit lane. You can hear the noise of the Vauxhall Astra as it trundles its way into the pit lane. Adam Chamberlain, having had an incident, well, it looks as though it's that right-hand side of John Hammersley's car that they are dealing with. Yeah, there's the damage, so that's the point of impact between the two. Now the car's come to a halt. The right-hand side, the driver's side of the Volkswagen Scirocco has taken the brunt of the damage. John Hammersley, having conducted the mandatory parts of the pit stop. In fact, that's the 30-second penalty he served. He's now conducting the mandatory part of the pit stop, which means that now the team can go to work on what is the rear quarter of the car, the rear bumper, and the side of it as well. Makes me wonder if what's happened is that perhaps the Vauxhall Astra has got into the rear bumper just slightly of the Scirocco, because they're taping up the right rear bumper of it, and then as it's got into that rear bumper of it, the car would have been loaded up going round through the corkscrew, and then I think what's happened is it's rotated the Scirocco round across the nose of the Astra, and then there's been a secondary impact as well, and I think that's why the Astra has probably come off second best compared to the Volkswagen. I'm afraid to say for Sussex Road and Race and Kevin Fulbrook, it's going from bad to worse, because not only is he retired, but Sean Woodard now, who was up in the podium spots, has brought the number 27 car back into the pit lane, and the bonnet is being lifted on that one as well. So looks as though that car is now going to drop all the way down through the order, which means that it's really opened up potentially where the win could go here. Leading at the moment is the white number 333 Ford Fiesta, which is still in the hands of Simon Smale, who has not as yet stopped. Up to second has come number 59, which is Andrew Marsden's Abarth Assetto Corsa, and John Hammersley is showing in third at the moment, but of course he has just come out of his pit stop, so it should be Andy Bailey that's up to third. We'll hand you back downstairs to the pit lane and Chris Buxton.
From the father and son combination, I've got Neil Jackson with me, Frank out in the car now. Well, you've had a lot to do in the Puma Cup this weekend, haven't you?
Yeah, we're not doing too bad. It's the first time out with this car as well. We've only picked up a couple of months ago, so we're doing all right, yeah. It's going well.
So, yeah, I mean, we generally see the 142, so Mark is out in the green one. What prompted the purchase of the second one? Just a bit of family rivalry?
Well, I shared 142 with Mark last year, and we thought we'd get one each, and then my son said, I'd fancy you go, so there we went. He helps with expenses, which is always handy, so it's all good fun. We can try and get some more out, and yeah.
It's because it's quite a cost-effective way. I mean, certainly compared to some of the other marks. It's we've been talking about that in the commentary box. So there's not a huge amount you can change in the Pumas, is there?
No, they're pretty standard. They've got a remapped ECU, all the same. Exhaust system, tyres and brakes and suspension. Other than that, it's bog standard. It is bog standard, so.
Excellent stuff. So will we see the Jackson trio out for later in the year?
All out for brands, and we'll go from there, one at a time.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much, Neil Jackson. Son Frank in the car at the moment. There was a lot of activity surrounding John Hammersley's car as it came in. So a lot of panel bending and what have you, and a fair amount of tape being applied to the back. So a bit of trouble for the club chairman, but plenty of racing still to go. Back up to you, Mark, in the commentary box.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, plenty of racing to go. 17.5 minutes still remain at this stage. We've still got, I think everybody are now having either completed their pit stop or in the process of completing their pit stop. So in has come the leader of the Puma Cup, James Clare. He is just serving his mandatory pit stop, which is for a set period of time that the Pumas have to remain stationary. So we'll see as to where he feeds back out. We've also just had a new fastest lap of the race popped in by Phil Briggs, yesterday's race winner, who at the wheel of the Seat Leon has just posted a 1 minute 18.305. 1 minute 18.305. That is now a tenth of a second quicker than the fastest lap from yesterday's race, which was posted by the Adam Chamberlain and Scott Carruthers Vauxhall Astra VXR. So weather conditions prudent to bettering yesterday's overall fastest lap of the race. So back out of the pit lane goes the car that had picked up the lead of the race, the number 333 Ford Fiesta, which will now be in the hands of Wendy Thorne for part 2 of the race. Good stint put in by Simon Smale. But where is it going to feed its way back out? Is it going to be in the lead of the race? I don't think it is. We'll have to wait and see until the end of the next lap. I think it will be car number 95, Andy Bailey, that will have picked up the lead of the race, but the timing screen needs another full lap to fully sort out as to what the order is going to be and where those cars that had the extra 30 seconds in the pits have fed their way back out, including not just Phil Briggs in the Seat, but also the slightly battered now number 1 Volkswagen Scirocco. It's still in the hands of John Hammersley. As for 666, Stephen Berry's car, well, he has pitted. I couldn't quite see as to whether the tyre was replaced on that car. One would like to think so, because surely now, with the slow puncture that car had, he's going to be struggling. And the Vauxhall Astra has sort of been repaired. All of its bodywork that was dragging on the ground has been ripped off now, so the front bumper now missing off the Vauxhall Astra as well. So with all of the pit stops having been completed, I'll hand you back downstairs for another interview. Chris Buxton has managed to catch up with somebody else.
I have Simon Smell, one half of the treble three pairing. Wendy Thorne out there in the moment. Well, welcome to the club, first of all. It's your maiden season with us. How are you finding it so far?
Yeah, loving it. Really friendly paddock. It's nice competitive racing. It's fair racing. It's a superb load of tracks that we're racing on. I'm loving it. Really good.
And yeah, so you've had a really consistent weekend. You started 11th, you were starting 10th yesterday. Was there any particular target or just get to the checkered flag?
Definitely just get to the checkered flag. Me and my partner here, we're just doing it for fun. You know, it's nice to be competitive and we'll keep developing the car. But yeah, it's Wendy's first season in Motorsports, my third season. So it's just a progression, really.
Great stuff. And will we be seeing the pair of you later in the year?
You'll see us every round if you're there. I'm there, you know.
Excellent stuff. Great to see you. Thank you very much for your time, Simon Smell. Wendy Thorne out in the car, and still plenty of action to come. Back up to you, Mark, in the commentary box.
Thanks a lot. Andy Bailey is the race leader at the wheel of the number 95 Ford Fiesta, but we've got the two of Baths together now, fighting over second and third place, and that's not just for the lead of the class, that's for bragging rights and family honour as well, because David Marson and Andrew Marson have found themselves together on track. We've also got a good little mini battle going on as well between what will be number 666, which is Stephen Berry's car, and car number 623, which is Aaron Clark's black car with its green, orange flashes to it. So they're just heading down through the corkscrew currently, actually wheel to wheel as well for what will be 12th and 13th position, whilst right behind them is the 14th place car as well, which is going to be another mini of Sean Woodard. So over the start finish line go the two R53s, chased by the R56, and it is going to be a change of position there, because going to lose out surely then is Aaron Clark's car, who loses out to Sean Woodard. He tries to fight back as they head round through the banking. The pair of them are absolutely side by side for what will be 13th and 14th position. Just up the road, escaping away just for a short while from them is Stephen Berry. So that is 4 position as they head out of Church Corner, the two minis. And as we say, we've also got for second and third place the two of Baths very much together as well. So that's another fight that's well worth watching out for the lead of Class E. David Marson fighting away with Andrew Marson up towards Rocket. Oh, came from a long way back, did Aaron Clark. Batters into the side of the Sean Woodard car, and has that caused damage to either? The 623 car of Aaron Clark eventually gets going. No obvious signs of damage. I think they sort of both largely got away with that, because it was pretty much full-on side-to-side contact, and I'm sure that Aaron Clark will probably admit that he was probably a little bit too late on the brakes as he tried to carve his way up the inside, and they just skittered into the side of each other. Now here are the two of Baths as they head round through the circuit. It is still the number 3 car of David Marson, who's got bragging rights for family honours. He's got right with him Andrew Marson. A quick replay here of I think what we saw. Yeah, it just came from a long way back, kind of a 623 Aaron Clark, and yeah, was never quite going to make the corner and just skittered into the side of Sean Woodard. So I think if I were the driver, I'd be holding my hand up there now if I were Aaron Clark, just to say, yeah, I looked in my bag of talent, ran out there. So good fights going on. It's warm out there. Chris Buxton has come back into the commentary box. It just seems as though the ambient temperature is just getting warmer and warmer and warmer.
Yes, it would be on the day when I'm doing the steps. That, mind you, it was really warm yesterday, as you can testify. As we can now see race leader working his way through the Marson battling Fiat Abarths.
Well, that's 4th position, because of course Phil Briggs had to stop. So
true, yes.
That's Phil Briggs now gaining 2 places over the Abarths. That means he's back up into 2nd place now at the wheel of the Seat, but is going to be 20 seconds behind Andy Bailey, the race leader at the wheel of the number 95 Ford Fiesta.
Oh, and there's another big lunge on the inside line for Andrew Marson, who started, he was the one that started on 4th, storming qualifying at the beginning of the weekend to start on the 2nd row in the 59 car. There's a big move then on David Marson, who started in 9th in the number 3 car. Yeah, Sean Woodard, I believe he shared that car a few years ago with Shields Bergstrom, a driver from Wisconsin in the USA, who was known for doing some Formula 4 back in the early 2000s, if memory serves. He was at Donington a few years ago.
You've got me there. I can't recall that one at all. Can't recall that one at all. Now that Phil Briggs has got past the two of Baths, he really is pulling away quite significantly. He has got 24 seconds deficit, however, to Andy Bailey, and the lap times that he's been posting aren't really going to close the gap a great deal to Andy Bailey, so it looks as though he is potentially on for a win, but there's still 10 minutes to go. It's the final step of the podium that I'm intrigued as to what might happen. We've had the change of order for those two Abarths now. Andrew Marston at the wheel of the very patriotically liveried Abarth, now ahead of the David Marsden car. The two of them finished well in yesterday's race as well. David finished 8th, didn't he? Andrew finished 9th in yesterday's race, was the way that they finished, hence why they line up on those particular positions on the grid for today. But there's still traffic to deal with up the inside of the Mini, which is going really slowly up at Rocket there. They carved their way past Aaron Clark's car, who at the last minute I think saw them coming, didn't he? Almost contact.
That was very, very close. You know, whether the Mini's in a bit of trouble or just being very, very cautious. Aaron Clark started 12th in this race. He started 17th yesterday, so gradual progression there for the 623 Mini as the Bath battle continues. We're just looking at some of the cars. This Scott Carruthers and the Andy Chamberlain Vauxhall had a bit of a moment.
Yeah, it got clattered into the side of John Hammersley. That was why the Volkswagen needed repairs, and the front bumper got ripped off. I was going to say
there's a bit of streamlining going on.
Yeah, I didn't see. I only saw the tail end of the incident. It looked as though with the damage on the rear quarter and on the side of the Vauxhall. I wonder if rear quarter and the side of the Volkswagen, whether the Vauxhall got into the rear quarter of the Volkswagen, that caused the car to rotate because they were coming down through the corkscrew at the time, and then there was a secondary contact into the side of the Volkswagen.
It was the entire right side that we're looking at on John Hammersley's car. There was frantic wheel arch bending going on the front right hand side, so that had obviously seen some action, along with the rear right corner as well.
Another thing we also need to keep an eye on is what's going on for the lead of the Puma Cup, because James Clare is leading the Puma Cup, was ever the case, but he's only 1.6 seconds up the road from the yellow car now of John Glover. So that's just a gap that we need to keep an eye on. I think they'll be coming down through the corkscrew at the moment, that pair of cars, and yeah, it's just a gap that I've been just keeping an eye towards, because it seems to be going the right way as far as John Glover is concerned.
And Mark Jackson is right behind them as well, with a couple of cars in between. Actually, that's the other Jackson car, so the Jackson family are together. I just realised, so father and son, Neil and Frank Jackson, pilot the 152, and Mark Jackson is the common driver of the 142, the green one, and there is the Puma leader, James Clare, who's had a lot of success in the Puma Cup, or in Puma racing, for a number of years, but I wonder whether he's seemed to be very strong in the early part, but has he overdone it? Is the tyres a bit too warm now that the ambient temperature is rising?
I think he's responded to the fact that John Glover was catching, because he pushed and was half a second quicker than Glover on that lap, and John got caught by Phil Briggs as they headed in towards turn 1, so it sort of compromised the lap of John Glover at the start of this one as well. So James Clare, I think, is probably maybe dealing with the quicker cars and getting out of their way, and not losing as much time as poor old John has been doing, who's just been sort of caught by the traffic in the wrong spot. But you can just see almost that yellow Puma in the back of the shot, so up towards the top section of the circuit, so rocket in, rocket out, Peel. There goes the silver car of James Clare. Not that far behind is the yellow Puma in the hands of the charging John Glover, who, as we say, took the win in the Puma Cup yesterday. It was his first win in the Puma Cup on merit, I think, as well. So he'll be keen to have a good weekend. He was testing on Friday, so he did say that he thought part of the reason he was quick yesterday was because all that testing, he knew what he needed to do, and he put it into practice yesterday. So he moves out of the harm's way. Over the start-finish line go the leader of the Puma Cup. 6.5 minutes to go. Andy Bailey still leads overall in the Ford Fiesta by 25 seconds from Phil Briggs in the Seat Leon. And Andrew Marsden at the wheel of the Abarth is third at the moment.
What a great mixture of cars you've got for the podium 3. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Yeah, you can't take it away from Andy Bailey. Finished 5th yesterday, started from 5th position as well, and has done exactly what he needed to do to claim the top spot. Not the fastest lap, that belongs unsurprisingly to Phil Briggs, but the 30-second penalty added to the number 5 has paid to that one, and the number 87 Vauxhall is somewhat smoky now back in the pits.
Yeah, that's the Vauxhall that had all the front end damage earlier on, and I don't think it's quite gone to plan now for Scott Carruthers, so the bonnet comes up on the Vauxhall. They may well be out of the race, I'm afraid to say, with 5 and a bit minutes to go. What's going on in the Puma Cup? Well, it's still James Clare that leads the way. He's got a bit of traffic that he needs to try and get out of the way of. He's about to be lapped by Andrew Marsden's Abarth as they come down through the corkscrew. James Clare himself is also trying to put a lap on the number 22 Stuart Eardley RX-8. That RX-8 also leads the RX-8 trophy section of the race as well. That's the grey RX-8 with the Dayglow stripes down the side and over the front of it. So now that James Clare has dealt with that little bit of traffic, he'll be focusing on the road ahead again and trying to push on, and conscious the fact that the yellow Puma of John Glover is not that far away. The gap was down to 1.3 seconds. It's down to 1.8. No, it's down to, what, 2.4 now, so it's going out the wrong way as far as John Glover is concerned. So he's pushing hard, but losing time now, I'm afraid.
As is the ebb and flow of motor racing, but James Clare knows exactly what his car is capable of. He's had that car a number of years now. Well, John Glover has had his car longer, I believe. That's a
good number of years for
yeah,
John, yeah.
That yellow, very speckled coloured car has been in the club a long, long time now. So, but James Clare is typically the name you find towards the sharper end of the Puma Cup. We didn't see John for a few years in his car, so took a bit of a sorry, we didn't see, it was James Clare that we didn't see for a couple of years. Oh, that's a little bit close. Stuart Eardley somewhat minding his own business, but almost got caught up with the Puma. There's another thing that you know, that some of these drivers have to really deal with. They know that they're surrounded by cars of a very, very different pace. It's always the emphasis of the faster cars to make their way past the slower class. The slower class will always be told to hold your line and be predictable. You know, the faster cars don't want to try and second guess what the slower car's doing just at the point they've committed to a move. So the slower cars will always be the one holding the line. It's up to the faster car to use their additional power to make their way past in a safe manner.
So we've got 3.5 minutes of the race to go. The number 95 Ford Fiesta of Andy Bailey still continues to lead by in excess of 25 seconds. Phil Briggs in the Seat, the number 5 car, is second. Third is Andrew Marston's of Bath. Fourth is another of Bath, David Marston's of Bath. John Hammersley's Volkswagen Scirocco is now up into 5th place, and David Cox at the wheel of the number 150 Volkswagen Golf completes the top 6 the way things currently stand. So through and over the start-finish line has gone our race leader. James Clare, still comfortably at the wheel of the number 100 car, has enough of a gap between himself and John Glover so as to lead the Puma Cup element of the race, the Mr. Tyre Motorsport Puma Cup. John Glover almost, I think, running a little bit wide there at Rocket, ran off the circuit tarmac onto some of the slightly older tarmac in his efforts to try and close the gap. It's down to 2 seconds now between first and second in the Puma Cup. James Clare having to give second best in yesterday's race, in fact third best in yesterday's race for James Clare, because it was John Glover from Mark Kirby from James Clare for first, second and third in the Puma Cup aspect of the race yesterday. Look how much that wheel just gets cocked all of the time, doesn't it? The stiff suspension that all of these cars have to run with that suspension system, but yeah, it's tyre saving, isn't it, for John Glover? all of the time that inside wheel is up in the air around most of the corners.
Absolutely. We saw that quite a number of times yesterday from many cars going full tripod mode. The camera doesn't really show how much undulation change there is here at Anglesey. It's really big altitude change top to bottom, and at that point it is a slightly positive camera, but like you're saying, Mark, because the suspension is so stiff, the cars are usually fairly settled, although when we were seeing the Magnificent Sevens doing their qualifying this morning, there were some very wild moments coming through that final corner.
So we're into the last 90 seconds almost now of the race. Andy Bailey is certainly looking good for the win. It all sort of came to him really with Phil Briggs and John Hammersley. We knew we're going to have to stop those extra 30 seconds come the pit stop window. So as long as Andy Bailey was there or thereabouts, and then of course with the problems that the Vauxhall Astra had of Adam Chamberlain getting into contact with John Hammersley, and Scott Carruthers eventually bringing that car into the pit lane and very sadly into retirement, it's all sort of gone the right way really for Andy Bailey. It's also gone the right way for James Clare in the Puma Cup, because whilst John Glover is not that far behind as the pair of them come over the start-finish line and head on to another lap with just 60 seconds to go, he's pushed as hard as he can, has John Glover. The gap is down to 1.8 seconds, but he's running out of time and running out of opportunities, I'm afraid, Chris, isn't he?
Indeed. But again, that is the nature of it. Sometimes you just have to accept that you are in the position you are. You're not going to gain anything by pushing that little bit too hard. You're more likely to risk the position you're in. But this man doesn't have to worry about that whatsoever. A very comfortable gap behind. And Adam Bailey just has to do it one more time. The checker flag will greet him on the next lap.
Yep, so over the start-finish line goes Andy Bailey onto the last lap of the race up towards turn number 1. We haven't really seen a great deal of him if you're watching the stream. That's largely because since the pit stops he's been very comfortable in the lead of the race, and he's going to win this race by something like 30 seconds or so, there or thereabouts. For the lead of the Puma Cup, John Glover is just heading through Rocket in and Rocket out for what for them will be the penultimate time of the race. He hasn't really been able to catch fully up onto James Clare's coattails, not for want of trying, but it certainly looks as though James Clare is potentially on for a win in the Puma Cup, and that yellow car that is heading down through the corkscrew is going to be finishing second place in the Puma Cup aspect of the race. There's also a mini between the pair of them at the moment as well, which is not exactly what John Glover wants. He's trying to thread his way through and past Aaron Clark, and might do it, you know, right away on the outside at the final corner. Can the Puma make it stick? No, he's going to lose out in a straight line, isn't he? But for Andy Bailey, he is almost about to head towards the checkered flag. He's just turning his way out of Rocket Out, up towards Peel Corner. There's still traffic for him that he will need to deal with as he heads down through the corkscrew for the final time. And as he exits the corkscrew, he manages to squeeze past Mark Jackson's car up towards the final corner. And in the Motorsports School Turbo Tin Tops, it's a win for Andy Bailey in the second of the 2 races here at Anglesey. It will be Phil Briggs who should come through at the wheel of the Seat Leon in second place, but he's some way adrift. But of course, remember, he did have to stop for an extra 30 seconds, and I think he's only going to be about 25 seconds adrift. So just going to show that had it not have been for that penalty, we would have seen another win for Phil Briggs. But that's the way it works in Classic Sports Car Club racing. It stops one driver claiming all of the wins. So here comes Phil Briggs now out of the final corner. The blue Seat weaving from side to side. 28 seconds he finished adrift, but remember, stopped for 30 more than the race winner. So that could have been a very tight race had it not have been for that penalty that he served. Third place is going to be Andrew Marsden, who's already finished in third place at the wheel of the Abarth. Fourth place will go the way of John Hammersley. Fifth place for David Marsden, and completing the top 6 should be the Volkswagen Golf. I think that will always be the last car to take the checkered flag, which is David Cox. We wait the arrival of our winner in the Puma Cup. Over the start-finish line there goes James Clare, car number 100, to win the Puma Cup element of the race. The last few cars just trickling their way over the start-finish line, and when they have done so, we will guide you through the results, and we will hand you also over to Chris Buxton, who will catch up with some of the drivers. So Andy Bailey, our race winner, is waving to the crowd and waving to the marshals as he completes his slowing down lap here on the Anglesey Coastal Circuit. Remember, as a result of that win, he will of course now pick up a 30-second penalty for the remainder of the 2022 season in the Classic Sports Car Club. So to confirm the results, Andy Bailey claims the win, with Phil Briggs in second place and Andrew Marsden there in third place. John Hammersley was fourth, with David Marsden in fifth place, and another David Cox completes the top 6. In seventh place, it was Lee Campbell, ahead of the pairing of Aidan Francis and Sean Wortley, who finished in 8th position, with Stephen Berry having problems finishing in 9th place, and completing the top 10 was the remaining member of the Marsden family, Richard. Outside of the top 10, Sean Woodard had problems and finished in 11th place. In 12th position, it was car number 333, which was Wendy Thorne and Simon Smale, who we heard from. 13th place goes the way of 623, another car that had problems, Aaron Clark. And in 14th place, it was Kev Smith and Paul Clothier. With John Glover there in 15th place. 16th place goes the way of the lead car in the RX8 Trophy, which was Stuart Erdley, ahead of Jack Hordley, who finished in 18th place. And James Clare showing us in 18th position there, which does suggest he was given a time penalty towards the end of the race, and therefore the Puma Cup element of the race, the win does go the way of John Glover on corrected time, so he will be more than pleased with that. Mark Kirby finished in 19th place, and you can see the last few runners and of course the cars that had problems there towards the tail end of the graphic if you're watching on the stream. So that was Motorsports School Turbo Tin Tops and Mr Tyre Motorsport Puma Cup. We can already see the cars for our next race are assembled, ready to head out onto the circuit, and it will be the Speed Panel A2 Modern Classics and Advantage Motorsport Future Classics for the 1980s group that will be next up. But all of the cars from that race are working their way into the Parc Fermé area, and hopefully we'll hear from certainly the winner, Andy Bailey. I think James Clare probably thinks he's won the Puma Cup element of the race, but he's being told that he's probably picked up a penalty towards the end of it. One can only assume for transgressing the circuit limit, so I think he's being waved through Parc Fermé, and it may well be John Glover that we get the chance to have a chat to, who is also stopped down there with Chris Buxton and perhaps the winner of the RX8 as well. So we'll see which drivers we get for this one. We'll have to wait and see. For what is a perfect day here at Anglesey. The clouds slowly burning off, the ambient temperature continuing to rise, the cars for the next race already starting to make their way out onto the grid as well, so I don't think there's a great deal of clearing up to do, but we should hopefully in a few moments time be able to hand you downstairs to Chris Buxton, who will be able to catch up with, I think what we're going to get is probably the winner of the Puma Cup, the winner of the race overall and the winner of the RX8 trophy. So let's hand you downstairs to Chris Buxton to chat to the drivers.
Down here in the winner's circle, we are greeted with this beautiful number 95 machine and its pilot, Andy Bailey. What a great win, sir.
Yeah, fantastic. Wasn't expecting that. So when I pitted, I think I was fourth, and they were gapping me. So yeah, I don't know what happened in their pit stops for me to sort of be able to claw that back. I don't know what the winning margin is, but I assumed I was still in fourth place. So yeah, over the moon with that.
I mean, there were a few contretemps going on. Phil Briggs and John Hammersley both had penalties, but you almost actually made that gap up. It was a 30-second penalty that Phil Briggs had, and it was over 26 seconds that you won by. So you were very close to actually overcoming that penalty. So I'm guessing that wasn't what you expected.
No, not at all. No, not at all. It's a real surprise. A nice one, bearing in mind the aggro and the trouble we've had with this thing, trying to get it race worthy. So this is the first proper weekend racing, and yeah, hasn't missed a beat. Over the moon with it.
Will we see you again later in the year?
Yeah, trouble is I have a 30-second penalty now, won't I?
I'm afraid you do, but
yeah, I'll be back.
Congratulations on the win. Thank you very much, Andy Bailey, in piloting the wonderful number 95. Now, we may not get a chance to have a chat with Phil Briggs and the brilliant performance from Andy Marson in the Fiat, as they are being spoken to following their little contretemps earlier on by the marshals. We'll see if any of them are free. The marshals are still looking over all the cars involved in that particular incident. Not all of them are actually here, because we did see a couple retire from the race earlier on. Still some debate going on between the officials and the drivers. Let's see who we can find. Again, it's trying to find them at the opportune moment. Mr. Marson. Mr. Marson. What a performance.
So, enjoyed that.
Yeah.
A bit of an incident just at the start on the first right hand. It was at the top there, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I mean, for such a small car with a potentially a power deficit, I mean, you qualified fourth. You didn't have quite such a good run yesterday, but you're on the podium today.
Yeah, no, really thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought the car performed well. The team did really well for us today, and yeah, we're punching a little bit above our weight with the power that we have. But it's a light car, great on the brakes, good in the corners, and a shorter straight here really helps us. We just didn't have that power on the straight, you see. So it was a great battle today. Just got to have a look at what the incident was on the first hairpin up there. So we'll see.
Thank you very much, Andy Marson, for the three of the Marson Fiats that we've seen. Leaving the holding area now is the Future Classics and the 80 division of the Modern Classics. Back up to the commentary box for more action.